Hi, welcome to another episode of the Reimagine podcast. And today I'm here with my co-host, Laura.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing well. It's great to be back here today. We have a very exciting episode. Joining us today is Sanjay with Saya Life. So I think, Paul, we should just jump right in here and ask the question, who are you and what it is that your company does?
Hi, my name is Sanjay Pujari, and I'm the founder and CEO at Saya Life. Saya was founded in early 2016. This idea of having a smart water management solution actually came out of my original. I worked at Cisco for many years, and California being earthquake prone. I always thought, why not use the power of big data and analytics and all of the IoT technology you have out there to actually build a solution that helps you predict or helps you mitigate the risk of an earthquake, especially by shutting off water, gas, and electricity. If you could remotely do that, it's a very simple thought. And I took that to the clean tech incubator in LA in 2016, and I pitched that idea. And working with the Los Angeles Water and Power, we kind of focused on water. We honed in on water because water seemed to be causing the most amount of impact, but there's the least amount of technology that has been used to kind of bring the importance of water out. So it's a diminishing resource, and that's where we put our focus in to try and provide the knowledge of water for water that enters into a property. It's a pressurized pipe. Anything can happen. Water enters a property and it causes damage. There's risks associated with it. There's costs associated with it. So that's where we kind of focused on.
Yeah, well, water, again, speaking from the insurance standpoint, water is a horrible culprit of claims. And, as people have found out in areas that get hit by hurricanes and stuff, where the water came from is an enormous, has enormous impact on who pays for the claim. Did it come from the septic system and back up in the house? Did it leak inside the house and come in? Was it a flood that came through? If I'm filing, I think these poor people down in Lake Charles and Louisiana, did the hurricane, is the damage from the flood or the rain? Did the roof come off and then the rain came in, or did the water come in here? So kind of tell us about tell us how you came from Los Angeles to Hartford, and I absolutely see why you would gravitate towards insurtech, and maybe tell us about your journey. How did you go from Los Angeles to Hartford over the last year?
Yeah, it's interesting. When I first started my company, I joined the clean tech incubator. That year, 2016, I figured the business model has to be talk to insurance companies, work with them, and then because claims, 25% of all claims is water related. And, there's not much information for insurance companies to actually underwriter or the actuary to actually understand how to write policies for a specific location without even knowing what the risks are. So with that in mind, I went and talked to a lot of insurance companies. I spent a better half of 2016 just talking to insurance companies. But they all would come back and tell me, do you have data? Do you have you deployed solutions out there? What's your market looking like? So that entry point did not exist through the insurance companies. So I had to then pivot and go after, builders and multifamily because, if you look at multifamily, they actually have sub-meters to charge for water use. And if you look at the sub-metering industry today, it is very old technology, or it's just focused on one thing, which is billing. So we went and kind of disrupted that market, and we added risk management. We added a mobile app for the tenant. So we have touch points to each and every stakeholder in the water economy. Now we started deploying our solution out in the market. We had traction. We have a lot of data points. We have customers. And that's when Shana and Rachel kind of reached out talking about, hey, this is a prop tech and the corporate partners are all these insurance companies. I'm like, yes, this is the right time now to go back and talk to the insurance companies because we have data, we have all of these things available. Now I want to go and talk to these insurance providers and see, does this data make sense, or is there a platform that we can build that can be a window for the insurance companies to actually look at the data that's useful for them to write policies and other things. So that experience at Hartford was really good because I got to sit in front of top executives from Traveler, Hartford Steam Boiler, the Hartford, all of these big players telling us what the problems are, what are they looking for, what is it that we should work on. It was really helpful. So I actually now have a couple of pilot projects that I'm working on. It's still slow, but I'm pretty confident over a period of time we will have a lot of good information for them for these projects. So that's kind of the journey. I mean, my first target was insurance company. Then I had to kind of scale back, do something else, get all the data points available to then go back again. And I got that opportunity with Upward Labs, which I'm very grateful for.
Was there anything that surprised you from those findings? So you talked about, your journey and going back to where you initially thought you were going to be. Was there anything specific that you learned along the way that you wouldn't have thought of that first go around?
Yeah. So when
yeah, go ahead.
I'm an engineer, right? So when you build something, you get excited and you're like, okay, this is great. Everybody's gonna just love what we're doing, and it's gonna go out there, and but it doesn't happen that way. There's a lot of things that people think it's a great idea, but to take it to market is a totally different story. So I had to learn all of these skills along the way. Marketing, sales, business model. So it was a learning experience, and also trying to figure out what is the best way to uh, to enter the market and provide value rather than just talking about a solution or talking about a product. So that's where customer discovery, understanding the needs of the customer, talking to people. So all of this was a learning. So my expectation of trying to make something, get into the market, start making revenue, it's not as easy. And especially being an entrepreneur, the startup company with limited funds, limited resources, you have to be that much more focused and careful on the path that you're going to tread on, because you need to you need to show traction. You need to have you make mistakes, but you learn from those quickly and try to pivot fast. So yeah, it's been a pretty good learning experience. A lot of bruises, but yeah, it's
Well, insurance, trying to get a contract with or a POC with an insurance company, it really requires a start to play the long game. Because as you know, there are so many people that need to say yes, and like it takes one person in an organization like this to say no. The other challenge, I just like your perspective on this. You talked about data. Maybe we just double click into the data. We love data. Oh, show me your data. Oh, I don't have enough data to make a decision. You know, we have to look back and say, look, if we're going to a state and we're doing pricing, and this is true on the life insurance side, I know it is on the P&C side, you got to show proof that you can justify the prices that you're playing. But while the world is evolving so quickly, data that you may have used 3 years ago, it is not predictive of the future. How do you reconcile what's if you were talking to your former self a year ago, how would you approach this thing differently, where you see the opportunity, yet there's not a giant, you don't have 6 years worth of data to prove that this device sits in a house and the claims go down?
That's a tough one, because everybody understands that that is the case. If you have something that mitigates a risk, uh, it is going to work. But in order for if you're talking to a big organization, I mean, we talk to executives in these companies, and they're always looking for proof or some validation. And it may not be the validation for, they understand that if you have the data, if you install this technology, it's going to work, and they're going to reduce their claims for example, insurance company. But it's because you're a startup company, validation of your technology. Is it really going to work? Does it have all the certifications in the market? Is it something that's going to be a liability just because somebody installed it? Is it just going to not be as efficient? So those are the types of things that probably come to their mind to say, is this company going to be viable enough, and is it going to be able to deploy successfully with good quality products that customers are going to be happy. So I'm sure as a startup company, when I go in and say I have this great product, it's going to reduce your risk by 15-20%, and once you deploy it. But then it's also a risk for the insurance companies to endorse a solution that has never been tested, not been deployed in the market. So I do understand that thought process. Hey, go deploy it, collect data, show us that information. Let's see if the customers are satisfied with what you're doing, and then we will look at it in more detail. So I kind of understand that now. But I was getting really anxious and impatient when I first went in front of them in 2016 with the idea. So
So, so going on that same line of looking back and looking ahead to now, what are some of your key success metrics that you're really like looking at in real time to say we might be moving slower than I thought we'd be, in anticipation, but we're still doing these things, and that to us is success at this point.
In terms of, you're working with the corporate companies, like the water utility, the insurance companies, everything moves very slow in these organizations. I mean, at the Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator, we were working with the Water and Power Department, LA Water and Power. And when I first, before I joined Lacey, I went and talked to the water department, and they were like, "Hey, we are happy with what we have. We don't want to change anything. Everything's working, so why change it?" But at Lacey, they have an innovation team sitting in the Clean Tech Incubator, and talking to them, they did understand. They said, "Yes, we understand what the value is. We understand what you're doing. It's an art just to get all of these things and kind of push it into the utility provider mindset to say, we need this, we need to change this, because it's slow. You have to do a lot of stuff to get to from point A to point B. So we started there. They gave us a pilot project. We deployed our solution. We proved it. Then there's a whole bunch of certifications that are required. Clean water certification. Your pipes have to be. You have to make sure they are meeting the standards. And then you have weights and measures certification to make sure even though you say your system is ultrasonic, it's very accurate, you still have to get a certification for that. So we feel like for a startup company, you have so many things to do, which costs a lot of money. So if you're not focused and you're going into multiple places, you're not going to have enough money to finish all of those basic things that are required even to play with the big players in the market. I think they have that for a reason, so that they can, weed out all the other companies that are trying to get into that space. But I think working with the utility companies, we were very focused. We were talking to them every day. There were a couple of engineers there, and that guidance helped us, stay focused. These are the things that are the most important. There are 100 other things to do. Let's focus on these things right now. Once we get that certification, we are going to be able to deploy it, because builders, contractors, architects, when they write the spec, these are the things they're looking for. We meet all of these specifications. Risk management is going to be part of the code coming in 2021. That's going to be part of the plumbing code. So we are already there. We have a solution that's fully equipped to mitigate, manage and mitigate risks, right? So that's what we did. And now we are getting people talking to us saying, hey, your solution fits. This is what we want to do. It's a complete solution. It does risk management. We even provide a billing module. And we have a dashboard for property managers, for utilities to look at, their rebate programs, and for insurance companies too, if you want to look at risk information for a specific location. So now we have a complete solution, but it's important to do the little things to get there, which is what you get from corporate partners talking to them, and the opportunity to get in front of them is important. And that's where I feel we've done well talking to utility companies, and also going to Hartford and talking to all the insurance companies, because that knowledge coming out of them directly is and getting in front of them is not easy. You don't get FaceTime with top executives of all these companies you know easily. So it's all of that knowledge has really helped us.
Yeah, so I guess you kind of alluded to the competition. It looks ferocious, between smart homes, smart buildings,
Yeah.
just sort of the category you're in, because water, we we don't exist without water. Um, how do you think this, if you think ahead 5 years, what does this market look like? If I'm an insurance company, do I need to be able to API into 300 different devices and solutions and price appropriately? Am I going to be sort of dictating, here's the solution you use and I get a discount, if you've got the particular system I'm looking for?
Yeah, so we have looked at this multiple different ways, talking to insurance companies. So how do the insurance company play, or how do they kind of work with us? Is it okay if a customer installs our solution, you get a rebate, or a discount, a policy discount? Is that what it is? So we thought about that. A lot of people are trying to do something like that as well. But what is it that the insurance company really needs? What are you looking for? You're looking for information. You pay, companies like Verisk a lot of money. There's a lot of
Hmm.
risk data companies that give you all of this information, right? So if we can collect all of this information about risk in a specific location, risk for user behavior, whether it's risky appliance and fixture efficiency. If we can provide all of these information at a higher level, would that be beneficial for the insurance providers to look at this data and then make a decision on how they do their or write their policies? So we are looking at two different things: whether data is important, and whether we should be able to provide this data to the insurance companies. And then if they find value in that data and they're able to provide policy discounts, then they could give us a small piece of that pie to see, okay, we're giving a policy discounts based on your information. Okay, we'll give you a small percentage of that. Maybe that's another route we could talk about, instead of saying, okay, if a customer buys our product, you give them a discount directly, because you haven't seen whether it really works or not, or is it really valuable or not. So we want to be able to create a value system where we give you something that you can actually use, and then based on that, when you reward your customers, you can give us a small piece of the pie. It's the same thing like your good driver discount, right? What do? At the end of the year, you kind of get a little questionnaire where they fill out stuff. Hey, I drove this many miles. I have a master's degree, and I have no tickets. That's the same kind of information. You want to look at real information. We're giving it to you about water. So
Yeah.
that's what I discussed with some of the insurance folks when we were at Hartford. So let's
Yes,
see
it's
how that
almost an
works out.
interesting way to think about it, right? Because in that context, the question I guess becomes, then would you become a data or an information company that uses your hardware platform to
That's it.
prove that service. So it's interesting approach.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's well, listen, you're on a very interesting journey, and I guess the last question I have for you, Sanjay, is like how has COVID impacted your business or the parts of your business that companies have found most attractive over the last 6 or 9 months?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I remember we finished our program at Hartford, and then we had this big demo day. It was supposed to be in Hartford, so we had to all run back to our our homes, and then we did a remote Zoom meeting where we did the demo day. Uh, we were doing pretty good till that time, till March. Our revenues were up. We had customers and we had a lot of projects lined up. But right after the pandemic hit, everything shut down, and we had this quiet time for a few months. And what did we had to really think about what we want to do as a company, because things had slowed down significantly. So we decided to focus on adding value, to make sure when things really pick up again, we are in the perfect position to scale. So one of the things missing in our portfolio was hot water certification. It's a tough one to get. It's a process. So we focused our attention on making sure, because if we get a hot water certification, then now we are playing into the energy space as well. We can collect not only how much hot water is being used in a specific location, but also energy cost, the embedded cost of energy. All of these things are important for a net zero type of deployment in smart buildings and in smart communities. So we got that certification. It took us a couple of months. We got that. We applied for two other patents. So we got one patent and we applied for two more. And then we also are testing a water quality sensor that goes in line to our meter. So we focused on that, because with COVID, people are more careful about air quality, water quality. All of these things kind of get elevated. People are spending more time at home now than ever before. So they pay more attention to these things. And in my home we have a water filter, but I don't know why we bought it, or what's wrong with our water. I have no idea. My wife just got it. Spent a couple of grand for it. I don't know. So if you have a water quality sensor that tells you what's wrong with the water, then you can go and buy the right kind of filter if you need it, right? So that's the idea. And we are trying to get it qualified through the utility company locally here. And we are also cleaning up our act as a company, getting more lean, trying to make sure as a startup company, we talk about challenges. What is a bigger challenge than COVID? You can't even think about that. It hits the startup companies the hardest. So thankfully, we things are picking up now. We have a few projects that we're working on. We also got the project with UBS. So we are deploying our solution in Massachusetts, we're working with a contractor there. So very excited. I wish I could go on site and work with those guys, but it'll happen soon. We want to be around that area.
That sounds great. Laura, any other questions?
Yeah, it's I've asked this one a few times and it's always interesting to hear responses. If you had to kind of boil down the thing that drives you, what is your why? Why do you keep, every day waking up being excited about what you and your team does? And what is that to you?
It's a very, very interesting question. Why do entrepreneurs why do we get up in the morning and get so excited about doing stuff? Because I feel like I've worked in the technology field for many years. I've been at, like I said before, I worked at Cisco, worked at startup companies as well. And the things we use the power of IoT and big data and all of these things to build solutions that, to me, it just makes us more inactive. We just, you want to turn the lights on and off from where we are. We want to listen to stuff. Yeah, you do things which are not, some of them are not important. Of course, there are a lot of things that are really valuable. But what I felt is we have lost, or we haven't focused more on things that are really important, and now it's happening. You have your energy, you have, clean air, with COVID and other things. Now technologies are all popping up. People are thinking about it, but they did not focus on it a few years back. That these are the things that are more important. If something goes wrong, do we have enough sensors for this? So all of those innovations um, that needs to happen to make sure our lives are better, and some of the natural resources that we have are and our life is sustainable with our natural resources. So water is important, and that's where I think our focus was. But we want to go into air quality and other things in the future based on, let's see how things move.
All right. Well, listen, Sanjay, thanks so much for spending time with us. What's the best way for people to find out more about your product services or get in touch with you?
I'm on, LinkedIn. People can connect with me there, and reach out to, go to our website, saya.life. Um, I'm always available, to talk to anybody who's interested. There's a link there asking for a demo or talking about our solution. Yeah.
Excellent. All right.
Well, thank you so
Laura?
much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank
Oh,
you.
thank you.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah, join us next week again for another episode of the Reimagine podcast.